Welcome to the show. Today we have with us our guest, Father Paul Abbass, who will be speaking to us about Talbot House and just sort of the runnings of Talbot House. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
I guess really just start off with what is Talbot House?
Talbot House is a residential recovery program for men who suffer from addiction. And the addictions are the full gamut of addictions. We started 1959, so starting in 09, we'll be there 50 years serving the men, initially really the men of Cape Breton area, but now it's across Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, I read that on the website, and it's open to all Atlantic Canadians.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you seeing more of that now? Population changing a little bit, where we have a lot of people leaving but coming back. Is it sort of now going to be the new focal point? Is there? I guess what I'm asking is there any other centers around?
There are. In Nova Scotia, there are 3 recovery facilities for men. There's one in Halifax, one in Dartmouth, and ourselves. There's also one for women, often not known about, but important to let viewers know that there is a Centre for Women residential program in Timberley, Nova Scotia, just outside of Halifax. So there are the 4 of us who serve in this particular fashion. And demographically, very often our place, Talbot House, we would get about 60% would be from off-island and 40% would be from on-island.
Is that sort of to aid, is there some anonymity? They would go and this is not my community, and I think I'll be able to heal in an area outside of where I am, or?
There's a few factors, important factors. I suppose what distinguishes us a bit is that our location. I mean, we're located on 700 acres of land in a kind of a rural setting. The other houses in the province are centered right in downtown Halifax, Dartmouth.
Okay.
So for those who choose kind of to be completely removed from an urban setting and the temptations that might provide, the option of Talbot House is very attractive. Then if you are from Halifax, Dartmouth, or other areas of the province, you might want to go somewhere where you feel, I don't really know anybody, and I don't know where the drug dealers are, and I don't know where the hotspots
easy
are.
access. Yes,
so
yes.
I will go there. And then there are those from here who, just because we're so well known in this area, would choose to come here and might not even know about the other centers. Or they may choose us because it is close to family and they still have some support in family or friends, and so their choice would be to come to us.
I was thinking that eventually you would need to make yourself back into the environment of where all those things are available, but your family is there as well. Is there a success in the center, in a bigger city area as there is here? What's the success level? Is it the same or is it different?
You know what, it's very, very hard to measure that sort of thing. And I wouldn't want to compare between our colleagues in the other 2 centers, just because that's not kind of what we do. But secondarily, the response I have always around success is that we have huge, huge success. If a person comes to our house, and on average they're staying close to 1 year.
Yes.
So for a whole year, if they are there and they are becoming physically, spiritually, emotionally well, they're not using, they're opening up all kinds of new opportunities for themselves, they're discovering things, they're learning about themselves that they never knew before, and they're leaving us filled with new hope and new possibility, then we have been a huge, huge success. Because you're actually turning lives around. You're giving people the opportunity to reclaim a real sense of personhood that they never, ever owned before. So that surely is a success.
Definitely.
Now, when you talk about success beyond that, where we really see success, and Betty Ford reports the same kind of information, Hazelden clinics in the United States report the same information. Some people, of course, will relapse after long-term programming, but their relapses will be incredibly short, and they will get back to recovery very quickly, as opposed to their earlier lives. I mean, average age of our guys who started to use was 13 and 14. Most were addicted by 16 and 17. Drank and used in whatever the abuse of the addiction substance was for their whole lives. So, they get to us at 30 years of age and we say to them, what's the longest clean and straight time you've ever had in your life? They might say a month or 2. Okay.
Wow.
So now, if they relapse after they leave us, it might last for a couple of days, or it might last for one time. But they've discovered something about themselves that they didn't know before, so they don't want to lose that, and they generally pick up right away and restart their recovery.
I was thinking that you would have more coping tools, obviously, leaving than you would have entering this type of program. And I think what I'm thinking in terms of numbers is, I read a little bit on your website about the numbers, and the minimum stay is 3 months.
That's right.
Do you see, I guess, could you compare those kind of numbers with what's happening in other centers as opposed to here? Are you having, long visits or I shouldn't say visits, but long stays as opposed to shorter?
We do seem to have, we're at the high end of the longer stays. Then we have a new, if I can just go wherever I want, and we'll see where it ends up. One of the features that we've added just recently over the last couple of years is that after you've been with us 6 to 9 months, closer to the 9 month, you can then talk to us about the possibility that you could go into an educational program from Talbot House.
Okay.
Now this has significantly changed the realities and the possibilities for these men, because they would then go to Marconi campus, or they could be going to CBU, or they could be going to an upgrading program. And when they do that from our house, that really changes the possibilities. Now they're going to stay longer,
yes,
because they're participating in some new programming that is significantly going to change their lives. And that then offers absolutely new possibilities. One of the difficulties, I think, in all of the houses and in the past has been that if you went there and you found new life and you got a whole new, you got a kind of a recovering or a recovery lifestyle, and it started to work for you and you're straight the whole time you're in the recovery place, then you leave. You're very often on social services, so you're on a very limited income. You have no employment. You may not have a very sound relationship or stable relationship with family and friends. You went into poor housing very often because you have very little income. So then to expect that these guys are going to stay clean and straight, I think, is a bit of a stretch. Very hard. You're just getting recovery. You're going to go back into poor housing where other people are using, et cetera, et cetera.
So you're giving them some of the tools, but you felt maybe you're stopping there and not
I
continuing
think so.
on.
I think if the person doesn't have an employment, he doesn't have education, he doesn't have other things to motivate him and show him the new pathway, I think it's very hard to stay straight. We're talking about chronic addicts. So our new education program, which is hugely successful, has made a significant difference in the lives of these guys. They're going entirely in a different direction.
Okay, and with that, we'll take a break and we'll talk more about that when we come back. Welcome back. Before break, we talked about sort of continuing on with their therapy through education. And I guess what I'm looking for is if you would share some stories, and that will help us better relate to what you're saying.
Well, one of the things that's very common that I discover is it's a real treat to work there, and I don't think of it much as work. I kind of live there, and I have these wonderful people that I share life with. And but it's the opening of people. When people first come to us, they can barely look you in the eye. There is this absolute sense of they're weighted down by the burden of their past and by the burden and the guilt and the shame and all that kind of stuff. And then you begin to watch this person really opening up and changing. And so one like simple things, we have a couple of corporate folks, good neighbors, who give us each give us a season's ticket to the Eagles games.
Okay.
So we alternate them, obviously, that our guys get a chance to go to a game. And when the guy goes to the game for the first time, he's just I can think of one guy who said to me, I was terrified the whole time.
Wow.
Because I'm out there in the public and I'm wondering, do everybody know that I'm an addict? Do I have like a sign on my head that says that? Because that's how I felt my whole life. I always felt like I was different. I always felt there was something wrong with me. And by the third time that guy goes to the game, he comes back and he says, I just feel so good. I feel like I'm a part of the community. I was there and I was talking to this person, I was talking to that person, and they didn't seem to know that there was anything wrong with me, and I don't believe there's anything wrong with me. And so to watch that kind of flowering almost, or that kind of maturity coming to a person is really to watch new life. It's just, it's really a miracle. There's
It
some
would be.
wonderful, wonderful activities, and this goes on all the time. People that begin to reemerge relationships with perhaps children, you know, that they could be adult children or they could be younger children. And they're reemerging these kind of relationships, and they're getting emails from them, and they're having that first phone call with a son or a daughter or a parent or a brother or sister. You have all kinds of people that have the experience of going off to school, you know, and coming back and saying, you know what, I learned so much in this program, and I'm applying that kind of learning at my school. And you know, the people that are in my classes with me, they don't have that same experiential base. They don't have that same, you know, suffering is a wonderful, wonderful resource if we use it right. So the struggles these men have gone through often becomes their greatest gift.
Yes.
And so the man who came in absolutely ashamed of himself for being an addict, now within a year, is saying, you know what, my addiction may well be my greatest gift. It may be the thing that really gives me new life and gives me new possibilities.
Well, and that's a very good way to look at it, just the new life aspect.
Absolutely.
Now, the addictions that they're suffering from or that they're dealing with, it could be anything. It could be gambling, alcoholism, drug abuse. It varies.
It varies. You know, when Father Webb started in 1959, he was pretty much all alcoholics. Today, you see very few people who come in who would say, I'm just an alcoholic, or only an alcoholic, I should say. You know, it's such an addictive culture that we live in.
I was going to say, because it becomes a lifestyle, and those things are very accessible in that lifestyle.
And you know what? I think, Lorena, we have to look ourselves. We're addicted. We live in a society that really promotes addiction. We're addicted to consumerism and to buying and to all kinds of things that we get
It's
caught
something
up
that's
in,
fostered more
it's
so
really,
than
really
yes.
fostered, and we're all kind of sold a message that says that in and of ourselves we're not enough. And the only way that we're going to become acceptable and worthy and worth being noted is if we keep adding things to us. So we add clothes, and we add cars, and we add homes, and we add all kinds of stuff, because fundamentally we feel empty inside. That's not terribly different. That is exactly the same thing that we're talking about. It's just that the chronic addiction is much more profoundly noticeable.
Well, as instead of something that you use as your coping mechanism, it takes a hold of you to the point where you're not using it, it's using you. Yes. Yeah. Now, as far as the gentlemen that have, I wouldn't say not your greatest success stories, but that have really been an example to others, if you would share some of those stories.
Sure. Well, we have what we call our aftercare program, which is another feature that we've added over the last 5 years. It's a terrific program. It means that guys who have been through our program they have a few alternatives. If they're living in this area, they can come back for an aftercare meeting, and they have conversations among themselves about the struggles of what's it like to live on your own in the Sydney area, and they share with one another and a staff member. And then we have, for those who are farther away, they can always come back for any length of time, a weekend or a few days, and they get to participate back in the program again, and they get special sessions just on their own, you know, one-to-one on how this thing is going. So we have guys that are just remarkable. I mean, they will call me from Halifax or from Pictou County or from Sydney, and they would say, I'd love to come home for a few days.
Wow.
I need to, and they may be in a significant relationship with somebody, they may be working or going to school, they may have children of their own, but this is home, and so they return home where they're in a culture of total acceptance. Because in a sense, when they go to Main Street, people are very supportive and they're very good, but it may not be total acceptance.
No.
When you come there and you're living with other people who are engaged in the struggle, you have a real sense that people really understand me and understand my issues. And it's incredibly important to come back to that oasis, to come back to that renewal. And we have an incredible number. I suppose I could say with some safety that 75% of our former residents are in regular contact with our place, which is a remarkably high number.
Well, it became that sort of first family of acceptance. And although, in society we say we accept, but again, we're selfish. And we accept as long as it doesn't interfere with what I want and what I'm doing. So although we're saying it, sometimes we're not always showing through those actions.
Because they're stereotypes. So when our guys go to look for an apartment, for instance, when they leave, and you know, that's always the big question. Do I come clean and say I was at Talbot House, which means that I had a significant addiction, and is that going to be a factor in my not getting a place to live? Or do I go to an employer and tell that story, and is that going to be a factor? Now, we usually tell our guys, you know what, you can't start hiding again. You need to be really open and honest about who you are, because you have nothing to be ashamed of. And if you start going back into this hiding who you are, you might run the risk of hiding from yourself.
Again.
And you begin to convince yourself that maybe you're not. That will be your worst risk. We give them a keychain when they leave, and the keychain on the thing says, remember who you are.
Wow.
You can never forget who you are.
And we'll take a break there, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome back. Now we're speaking with Father Paul Abbass from Talbot House, and before the break we talked about getting back into the community, and during the break you brought up a very good point about the community and family and friends, and maybe just people listening. And
well, one of the great concerns that I have, and I think many of us have that are trying to help in this field, is almost daily we get calls from family members of those who are addicted, and the addicted person is not yet ready for help.
Okay.
But the family will call and say, I have a son or I have a daughter. That's often the call. And we don't know what to do. We don't know how to help them. We don't understand the issues of addiction. We don't understand what we should do and what we shouldn't do. Or they're asking questions like, am I enabling the person?
Yes.
Should I cut the person off? You get a mother that calls you and says, people are telling me I should put him out on the street, put him out because he's doing this or that. But I'm his mom, and it's really hard for me to put him out. And what if he dies out on the street? These are huge, huge issues for families.
Yes, they would be.
And I think that we as a community need to think about that as well. We're doing some nice stuff for those who are addicted, but it's what about those families that are struggling with it every single day? Their loved one is not yet ready for help. They don't even understand addiction. They don't understand the drugs or the alcohol or whatever is happening. Now, we have the 12-step movement and the Al-Anon, part of that for families, Addiction services here in Sydney and across the island. They have some good programs, and they're a wonderful resource for families to call and look for advice. We're certainly open if families want to call us and ask for some help.
Yes.
It's not unusual, for instance, that parents will call us and say, my 14-year-old is starting to use. What can I do? And we say to them, well, look, if your 14-year-old is open to it, why doesn't he come up? Because you know what? We have 19-year-olds in our program. Wow. It's only a 5-year difference. I won't talk to the young man because that'll only scare him off. What if we match the 14-year-old with the 19-year-old, tell him to go and sit in our park for half an hour, have a conversation, and maybe that will help to open up the eyes of that young person. So we need to do more, I think, for families that are struggling around addiction, where the person is not ready for help yet.
And that can be at any age. You said, someone that may be younger, but it can be at any age. It may have been an addiction that even started a little bit later in life. There may have been something there, but an event may have triggered, or things have come around. What would you say, I guess, to families that maybe do have someone out there? What's their best first move?
Well, I think the first thing is that they need to talk about it, and they can't keep it a secret much longer, because that's killing everybody. It's killing the family dynamic. It's hurting the parents, and it's hurting the person that's using. So you know what? It's time to kind of break through that barrier of silence. Look to addiction services. Maybe start with them, having conversation with them. Go on our website. If you want to email us a question, you don't have to. You don't have to disclose a whole lot, but if you want to get some information, maybe we can steer you. Give us a call. We're happy to talk to people. I mean, there is help there. The 12-step Al-Anon programs are available. I just think it's critically important that you talk to somebody. Talk to your clergyman. Talk to your family doctor. Talk to somebody who will help you to become more comfortable with the fact that this is going on in your home life. But if you continue to keep it a secret, nobody is going to get better.
Okay, so the first start, recovery-wise, is to start speaking about it.
Yes, I believe that. I honestly believe it.
Now, because it's important, and I want to touch somewhat on it, funding, you are a nonprofit.
Yes, that's right.
So where does the money come from?
Well, we do get some help from the province of Nova Scotia,
Okay.
who fund a kind of a grant or a block funding for our men, and then of course there is the big shortfall between that and the money that we have to raise, and then we have to raise it because there is no other place that money comes from. So we really depend on. And we don't do a whole lot of fundraising.
No, you don't see it very
you
often that
we don't
way.
have ticket draws, and
No.
we don't have dances, or we don't have this or that. And because we're an anonymous kind of place, and you don't want to be doing that too much with your guys. So we really depend on individuals and corporations and church groups or whoever can do it to be so focused on the fact that if this service was not there. And we'd ask them to be focused on 50 years of service to this community, of providing a home and a program, hope and possibilities for the addicted. Then I'm hoping that people will be generous, and they can contact us through the website. They can call our office. They can come and visit us if they'd like to partner up and maybe help us to meet the many, many challenges.
Now, 50 years, there's no, your success of the past is certainly your greatest celebration for the 50 years. But what other type of, I guess, event is planned for the 50th? Is it just to get the word out again, mostly?
Well, it's interesting that you asked me that today, because I'm leaving here and I'm going back to Talbot House, and the Board of Directors is having a meeting to say, what is 2009? What are we going to build? Now, I'm not talking necessarily about a structure, but what are we going to build to celebrate Father Webb's dream of Talbot House of 50 years ago and the existence of 50 years of excellence and service to this community and to the province? So we're going to have lots of conversations. Undoubtedly, the celebrations and the awareness program that we will have will involve the men of Talbot House. It will involve the community, because we see Talbot House as an incredible service to the community, and we think we have a responsibility to serve the community as well. So whether we'll be doing some awareness programming in schools and in the public, we'll find lots of ways to do it. Maybe you'll invite us back and we can talk about those.
Well, we could do that. And I guess that's what we'll be celebrating our 50th years. That's just coming up. And we want to thank you for joining us today with our program, and thank Father Paul Abbass for being our guest here. Thank you very much.